Welcome to the CodePrep Podcast, the podcast that shows you how you can get into tech. Today's guest is Ann Vu. Ann has a college degree in science with a major in biology and a minor in chemistry. She spent several years working for nonprofits and other companies after graduation and worked her way into product management. She took a course at General Assembly on product management. Today, to those of us in Atlanta, we know her as Miss Product. She started Product 404, which is an active Slack channel for people interested in product management. In addition, Ann is actively involved in the product meetups here in Atlanta. So let's get started. Ann, can you tell us about your journey from having a degree in biology to becoming a well-known product manager?
Well, first I want to say hi, Valerie, and hi, Jennifer. Thank you for having me on today. About my journey, it was a long and winded journey. I did just about everything. Coming out with a biology degree, I honestly did not know what I wanted to do. What I ruled out were not doing research. That's not happening. And ultimately, I had researched the hell out of med school, pharmacy, all the usual, ruled that out as well. But from there, I did go into healthcare operations and spent several years in that. I had a side gig in language interpretation, which took me all over Metro Atlanta and a little bit beyond, taking me into medical visits and into judicial court, and then also social worker care. And then eventually, with the advent of EMRs or electronic medical record system, that was really my first look at technology and how it can help the users, the patients, and everyone involved, but how it lacked a lot of what everyone needed. And so it was just that simple seed where constantly communicating with the account managers of those systems and never getting what I wanted. So I decided to move from being just a user who's complaining a lot. I'm great at that, by the way.
Critiquing, sure.
That another great synonym. But deciding that, I can stop complaining and do something about it. And so that was the first spark of taking a look at technology, healthcare technology, and figuring out like what part of this do I want to join. And that was an extremely gray, opaque time because I had no idea where all these roles were. And I just Googled and Googled. I was a master Googler at that time. And all that Googling still left me with vague answers. But then I discovered Meetup, which was where then I found out, there's a meetup specifically on healthcare technology. And so I went out to that and then discovered there were more tech startups. And then eventually it, long story short, landed me in now, formerly product management and now project management.
I'm gonna jump right into your LinkedIn. So one of the things I like to do before we have a guest on, even if I think I know them and their background, is like just go check out their LinkedIn. Yours is terrifying for someone like me, in that there's just so much. You didn't just go get a degree. You were on the board or in charge of or involved in some way on several different activities at all times, several different organizations.
Yeah.
In the last few years, while you have this impressive resume of positions and companies, you also, Product 404, I mean, all of the different organizations, which now, and I'm so happy for you because, gosh, you've had a lot on your plate for like 15 years. I'm told you're sort of stepping down from these myriad organizations you've been running. Can you talk to us about, realizing it was time to take a step back, what sort of preceded that, and where it stands now?
Yes. First I want to say that joining different organizations is a great way to learn from other people who've already taken the steps to get to where they are. And the more people you speak with, the more you learn that there are different paths to get there. Yes, I've stepped down from a few roles. I was formerly manager of operations development at Anadata, which is a nonprofit data science group. And then I was formerly a co-founder of Product 404, also a Slack and a events and group, and with more to come. I am a lifelong student, as anyone who seeks to constantly grow would be, but I have a way to getting to that, and I set OKRs. So for those who are unfamiliar, those are objectives and key results. Start thinking about that towards the end of the year, and figure out how to implement for the following year. So I took on those roles formally because I wanted to learn, and I wanted to network. And they say how to be a good networker is to make sure you have something to offer to other people, to the people you speak with. And I realized making a career change into tech that I had nothing to offer as far as directly in technology. I had some for the domain knowledge of healthcare. So I figured take on organizer roles in varying capacities. And that helps me to create a platform for others. So I was giving something so that I could also learn from others. Product 404 in particular, that started really with my journey. When I got into product management, I had no clue what to do. And so I had to go out and search of information. Again, a master Googler, and found different Slack groups, different Facebook groups, found books, resources, and the effect of community of people is amazing. I could not be where I am today without the people who have encouraged me, pushed me along the way, believed in me, but also other people who are trying to learn. There's a particular group that stood out to me, which was Women in Product. It started as a Facebook group, and I was one of those passive users, or AKA stalkers. I watch as other people ask questions, those who were either trying to get into product or are junior to some more established in their product career. And the questions they asked and the comments, the replies, I mean, it's an amazing group, highly active. And I saw that, but I did not quite have that in Atlanta. Product management is practiced just slightly differently by geographic areas, and then down to different organizations, and then the teams themselves. And so I wanted something in Atlanta. We have a few great ones, Product Tank and Product Camp. There's also Lean Agile, which is has a broader scope but does touch on product management a lot. But I wanted something a little bit different. And so my co-founder, Kent Kiersey, he had stepped out and asked other product professionals, hey, Is this something you want? Which is what any product managers do. They ask the market, what do you need? What are you looking for? Is this something that you need and want? And so me being me, I'm not afraid of strangers. And I just reached out and I was like, this is great. Like, please do this. And so I'll skip over some of the details there, but I'd been an organizer for by then a year and a half. So I had a lot of resources and a lot of knowledge around it. And I told him, when you need it, when you need the resources, I have a few to offer if you'd like. And then it just leapt into me actually becoming a part of the organization and helping with it. I'm becoming a co-founder. It all happened so fast because the product professionals here in Atlanta actually want this. They actually need it. But going back to why I resigned, my OKRs set for this year involves learning more technical information. Oftentimes, but not always, product managers come into the role as formerly a developer, formerly a designer, formerly many different roles. I kind of came into it by career change. And so to me, I have a bit of information, like I've learned along the way from my from my teammates, from my developers and designers, but I want to be a stronger product manager and a stronger project manager, depending on which role I'm in at any time. So part of that is joining my free code camp friends, and they're going to help me to figure out what's my path to learning Python and building that knowledge and being a better individual contributor, but in the future becoming a better leader.
That's awesome. It's interesting when you were talking about your transition into being a product manager. And one of the main things that you do as a product manager is you go out and you ask the market, what is it that they like? What is it that they want? What is it that they need? And that's
Yes.
one of the skills that product managers have. We did a video, Valerie and I created a video on the different roles that are available in tech. And we'll include a link to that in the show notes below, where we talk about all the different roles that are out there. And there are two roles that kind of have the same name that a lot of people, aren't sure if they're the same or if they're different. And those two roles are a product manager, which is what you do, and a project manager.
Yes.
Very similar between the two, and even though they have two different roles. Can you explain to our listeners who are thinking about getting into tech, what are the difference between a product manager and a project manager so they can decide which one is a better route for them to follow?
Yes. Yes, there is a lot of confusion around that, and I myself had it in the beginning. But there's a distinct difference, and the only reason why it's a little bit more confusing is now in software development, the process by which we do it has become more agile. But on product management, managers are they are responsible for the why, when, what of the product concept and the development of the product itself. Project managers are responsible for the planning and the very important collaborating, removing of obstacles, and controlling the scope of project through to completion. Within project management, it's important to communicate with the product managers on the vision of the product. But within the product manager's role, it's important that they are constantly communicating with all the different talents, the developers, the UX designers, the business analysts, what have you, to understand the product design.
Okay. I love that. That's a really concise, short differentiation. Especially in Atlanta, I think there's a lot of job role confusion because at a startup, you might not have people with distinct, discernible roles. You might just have a guy who sort of does all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely working at a larger corporation, I'm guessing there's more delineation.
Yes.
So you've moved now into project management, where you're
Mm-hmm.
more, planning and implementing and make sure that all the pieces fall in place at the right time. Is this a new adventure or something that feels more familiar, or is this, a new learning curve for you? What sort of drew you to this shift?
That's a great question. It is both new and familiar. Honestly, that's a terrible answer, but it's very true. And I'll explain why. It's new because because as a product manager, I was very intimate with the product and the way that you would communicate with your team and negotiate is all around the usefulness and the success of the product. And it's at least for me, it's a much easier way to negotiate, and sometimes aggressively or persuasively. But as a project manager, you're a little bit more, you're almost 2 degrees apart from the product. And you have to be much more delicate with how you communicate and negotiate for the project to execute to the end. And so it's a skill. Communication, negotiating is a skill that I thought I was doing pretty well at. And now I'm having to relearn that. So in a way, that's where it goes from familiar to new. I find it extremely important that the well execution of anything is good collaboration and respect of everyone involved. And so being what feels like 2 degrees from the product is difficult. You still have to be able to communicate effectively, but at the same time, there's an extra layer of what is that level of respect, that room for them to make decisions, but at the same time, making sure that I, as a project manager, still help the entire team fulfill the needs of this project.
That's great information, and it's good to know the differences and what you're going to be doing in your new role. As we end up here on our podcast, one of the things we ask all of our guests is to make a recommendation on something that makes your life easier in tech. And it can be a book, it can be a physical product, it could be a training course, it could be your favorite home cooker, anything along those lines. So what recommendation would you like to leave with our audience?
So if you are looking to go into any role, look for an active organization of any kind. Those have always been a great source of information. It's both anecdotal and to highlight nuances, but people are great with further resources, whether it's books or otherwise. So my favorite one is what I mentioned before, Women in Product. You can find them on Facebook They also exist as an organization. I believe that would be womeninproduct.org or WIP.org, one or the other. I can find that for you later. That is a great source. And then the other one is to learn how to reach out to experts or just people with experience in the field, and reach out to as many of them as possible, because the role of product and project management, each one are constantly evolving, especially with the state of technology. It is quickly and always evolving, and that changes the process, as well as how that changes any industry. Each one will have its nuances as you narrow it down. Another one is stellar peers. That is that's for specifically product management, and they have great breakdown of questions to expect in interviews. And they also have, I believe, a regular Google meetup, and I believe they limit to a number of people so that you can talk with actual product managers, and some of them are either at or formerly Google, Facebook, Amazon, and they propose a specific interview question, and that's when you can be flawed. You're proposing a few different answers, and that person will help you think through, okay, that's a good answer. Maybe that's not such a great answer, and it helps you to think through it, but also helps you to learn how to explain through the process.
So you totally beat us to it. You beat us to it. So we were, the follow-up to your life recommendation was going to be asking for a recommendation around technical interviews and the interview process. Stellar Peers sounds incredible.
Yes.
That's a really good resource and opportunity to be able to test out your interview skills.
Yes. One thing I will point out, though, because these interviewer hosts are mostly from the major tech companies, and most of them are on or I think all of them are on the West Coast, you're going to get more questions and answers that are representative of those companies. And they're great ways, they're honestly, in general, great ways to think about product and product management. But it's also very important to reach out and network with your local community, because especially in the area that you are, the geographical area and the companies you're looking to interview at, they may have different questions and they may expect different answers. And so I would use Stellar Peers as kind of a starting point, because you can use that for mock interviewing. But then definitely reach out to your local community. They're going to be able to give you that little bit more tailoring.
So Jennifer and I are both huge proponents of networking. Above all else, the people in your life make the difference. The people in your career field make the difference. And I am so very thankful that I met you. So very thankful that I attended an event where you were. You have been wonderful and shared a wealth of knowledge with our listeners, and we can't thank you enough.
Thank you. It's been great meeting both of you Valerie, I met you through DevOps Days conference, and I'm actually still part of that in a very, very small capacity. But we're having that event in April. And Jennifer, I met you through several Women Who Code events, among other ones. And Women Who Code has actually been a great group for me to have jumped in and out of. I've met a lot of amazing women, and it's been encouraging to see the local women of Atlanta doing incredible things beyond the boundaries of our city. And it keeps me going. Thank you.
Well, I have no doubt that your journey and your shared information today will keep our listeners going and help them get where they want to be. To all of you listening, thank you so much for joining us. Please see the show notes for these great resources that have been shared today. Until next week, this has been the CodePrep Podcast.